Today we're over here with Ryan. We're going to try to discuss one thing. Silica is confused with other contaminants. Okay, as environmental scientists, we want to know the difference between these and how this is going to be impacting 3, 5 years down the road.
Sure. So, uh, silica in building materials it's a particulate. It's in joint compound. It's in mortar. It's in concrete. It's in tiles. It's in a large amount of building materials. It helps make that building material. Silica is, I think, number two, um, uh,
Product use?
not product, but element in the world.
Oh, okay.
Oxygen is
Of
number
course.
one,
Yeah.
and silica. So what happens is when it becomes microscopic, you have respirable crystalline silica. Well, in 2016, OSHA finally put a regulation out for it. Because what it's doing, it's very similar to asbestos when it gets in the lungs. It gets in the alveoli and it creates an area where the lungs aren't able to get rid of it, and it causes scarring.
Without being asbestos, right?
Without being asbestos.
Okay. Yeah, important to have that distinction.
Correct. So asbestos and silica are both silicate minerals. So they act similar. And again, they're both naturally found. I could go out and start digging around and find silica, same as there was asbestos mines. People don't believe me, but I think it was 2007 was the last asbestos mine in the United States. They, for some reason, think before that.
In other countries, probably to last year,
Oh,
they had
last year,
some, and
yeah.
today there's some that are still open.
They are, and they import them overseas. But silica mines
Whenever
still exist.
whenever silica is in the natural form, do you think that silica is still also a hazard or a problematic thing, or do you think that MEM process, just like food, MEM process or highly processed food can be a problem?
Correct. Yep, the process. Same thing in mine sites. So open pit mines, underground mines. It's not just what they're digging for. Like coal mines, obviously they have the black lung, but you still are going through earth that has silicate minerals in it and silica. So there's a mine in Arizona because I'm familiar with it. It's an open pit mine. It's a copper mine, but their number one hazard is silica dust. And they have to take huge precautions. MSHA, which is the Mine Safety and Health Administration, they oversee that part, and they've done a really nice job on RCS, so respirable crystalline silica, and they've always had standards in there. OSHA is late to the party, and which affects all the other industries that are not mines. So all these other industries have been cutting into drywall, joint compound, just tearing up floors. And yes, maybe they've tested for asbestos and it comes back non-detect, but what's still there? Silica. And the problem with silica is the latency period, which is the period that it starts to
damages the lung.
The damage or the health effects is less than asbestos. So asbestos is 30, 35 years. They're seeing it all the way from 15 to 20 years for silica. Yeah. So they're seeing a younger population come with silicosis, similar to asbestos where you have asbestosis, you have silicosis. And so with OSHA, 2016, they have a reg 1926.1153 from the construction standard. And most of the reg said in 2 years, so 2018, everybody has to abide by this. Some industries, it had to be done by 2017. But what happened is that it was on the ramp up, right?
And then COVID hit.
But
let's go back a little bit into these industries that have a greater risk. My first company, Builders Consulting. Oh no, some of my first ones were with these granite companies. I remember that I used to bring containers, so I purchased the container, and I will have the slabs there for them to then get it out of the container when they sold it, and then they pay me for the slabs, and that's how I sort of worked together with these companies that were installing granite, mostly granite.
Granite countertops.
Oh yeah, that was over 20 years ago or so. But then now the same companies that are still open, and about 4 of them that I have a very close relationship with them, because obviously in the beginning I was there, but then I can see that they're working now with quartzite, man-made marbles, and granite is not as strong today as it was 20 years ago, but it's still a lot. So I can see quartz from Brazil, Turkey, and many other places that have an insane amount of silica in them.
Yeah, and silica is still in quartz and crystallite and things like that. So
what about marble for tiles?
So I've never actually done any testing on marble, nor have I read one. I would have to research the marble, but granite countertops, concrete, any type of aggregate type disturbance, they all expose you to silica. And in the standard, it talks about uh, respiratory protection. And if you're doing this type of action, so grinding or cutting through concrete, it gives you what the APF is and for respiratory protection. But the part that the standard doesn't really talk about is things like restoration companies and mitigation companies and what they're cutting into. Anytime they're grinding or cutting up or cutting through tiles or mortar and or thin set, they're exposing themselves to
Same thing with
silica.
the plumbing contractors when they cut to
plumbers,
fix stuff.
Plumbers are one of the highest industries that are exposed to asbestos and silica, is because they don't wear respirators, and they think, well, I'm only cutting this little 1 foot by 1 foot or 2 foot by 2 foot square to get to the plumbing behind it or the clean out or whatever. And it's plenty because how many times are they doing that a day?
Yeah, and
right? It's not just one time.
Billions of fibers in any cut.
Oh yeah. And it's not the stuff that we can see with our naked eye. It's the microscopic dust that we don't see that's damaging our lungs.
Do you think that silica? So we use amended water for asbestos, and we use methods that are a little different for lead. But what do you recommend for silica? Whatever
amended water.
Amended water will also clump the I don't know how you call the crystals, right?
Yeah. So not only traps the particulates, but amended water, one of the bigger things that it's supposed to do is it penetrates to then trap down. So if I had a 2x4 here, it would be the best example I could do. I could pour out of a cup just regular water, even tap water, and it would bead because those H2O bonds, they bond together. But then when I put an amended water, so a soap, some soap, it breaks those bonds, and you'd see the water spread out on that 2x4 and soak into the 2x4. And that's why amended water is so important on asbestos and jobs that have where you're trying to control the particulates.
So if we're talking about amended water, what do you think are some good ratios for amended soap water?
Good question. Some people would say if you can shake it and it creates a foam or bubble layers, then it's enough. Others would say, oh, in a 16-ounce spray bottle, put 3 tablespoons of Dawn dish soap, because Dawn works well.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
So for me personally, when I'm taking samples, like bulk samples, I do I'm going to shake it up. If I can see bubbles, I know there's enough in there that I'm going to create a good enough amended water to penetrate and to trap.
Okay. So, what about when you're working with silica and you keep the material that you're cutting into real wet? Okay. Is that also some sort of a standard or a requirement that you can think of for that type of pavement or cutting?
Yeah. So in the asbestos world, right? We have the AHERA, we have OSHA, we have, and then NESHAP if it's a commercial building or a
school or whatever.
School or AHERA is for school, and then NESHAP applies to non-residential or buildings 4 units or more. Or I'm sorry, 4 or less is not NESHAP. 2 separate buildings on the same plot of land, NESHAP applies. But AHERA really is the dictator of the methodology, and then OSHA comes in. But when you look at all 3 of those, they all resort back to each other. Okay. They cite each other. So 1926 Law 1101 is the OSHA asbestos reg, and then AHERA is 40 CFR Part 763. So you have those things, and it says you must use amended water. Okay. Not only that, but if you've ever noticed, which I know you have because you're in abatement, they're clear bags. Yeah. And they have to be clear bags. In the standard, it does not say you use a black trash bag. It says a minimum of 6 mil poly clear bag. Well, the clear bag is for regulators, so when they come, they better see moisture in there. Because if they don't see moisture in your bag, you did it dry.
Yeah.
And if you removed asbestos dry, you did it wrong.
So
So
100% of the time, there is no way to do abrasive removal of it.
Exactly. And so silica is going to move that same way. The problem is silica is way behind where we are with asbestos. And look how long it's taken us to get to where we are with asbestos.
Only 40 some years.
Right. So that's why, for me, because I work with so many mitigation and restoration companies, that's why I'm doing a dissertation. My PhD is on respirable crystalline silica, and specifically it's the occupational exposure during a category 2 or 3 water loss. Why would I include category 2 or 3 water loss? Many times in those, especially category 3, drywall, when affected, it has to be removed. It can't be dried out. So it's a scenario where the mitigation company or the restorer is coming in knowing we're going to do a flood cut or more, and they're going to expose. So and where do they cut it?
Whatever.
Do they cut it on the wet spot?
No. That's what
they go 2 feet out.
They
go 2 feet out. And are they using amended water? Thinking about it, they probably tested it, bulk sample for asbestos. It came back negative or non-detect. Well, now in their mind they went, well, there's no asbestos. I can dry cut, right? Or with the little saw, whatever they're using. But what are they really doing? Exposing the entire. Silica. Hopefully they have a containment up. They should still have a containment in that scenario, but are all the workers? And then what happens on the recon side of those same companies, especially the drywallers? They come in, they cut open, they sand. Oh, it's a knockdown texture. Great, we'll match it, and they're dry sanding. Well, where are all those particulates going? Right into the lungs.
So to finish up this conversation on silica. Does silica also linger in the air like asbestos fibers do? It settles faster. Do you know that?
Yeah, not that we've seen yet. I think there needs to be more studies on silica particulates in the air, kind of like they did with asbestos, where asbestos is very good at staying buoyant. Does gravity still affect it? Yes, it will eventually. But the problem, they're so microscopic that I could wave my hand like that and now they're going. And I don't see them because they're microscopic. Silica probably has the same. There's not enough studies that I've seen yet that can show.
Because the analogy that I do with asbestos is like if you throw a feather from the Empire State Building, how long does it take to touch the floor?
That's exactly right with asbestos.
But with silica, because of the crystals being in a different form, the gravity may act a little different.
Correct.
And the wind too.
I would say silica settles much faster than asbestos.
Okay, maybe there's a theory that it could be maybe similar to lead or something like that.
Not lead. Lead is very heavy.
Yeah.
Lead settles quick.
Immediately. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's in between.
It's in between. Yeah.
Okay. Ryan, thank you very much, man. Great conversation, man.
Yeah.
Pleasure. Thanks, man.